Welcome back for this final part of our series on solar energy. So, till now, what we have been studying is on solar cells, how the solar cell works to convert your solar energy into electrical energy. Then, what are the efficiencies, what are the parameters that define the efficiencies, and what are the strategies one can implement to improve the efficiency. And in last lecture, I have covered what are the different commercial solar cells which have been available and which are under development, which can give you a better future. So let's try to understand the technical part of the solar panel, which have been available. So most of the solar panel which are available commercially are based on silicon solar cells. Okay, so silicon solar cells are basically, it's like having an area of 125 centimeters square. This is what is a normal size of your wafer is. So you develop all your metal contacts, your anti-reflecting coating, EN junction, everything over this wafer, and then you produce one single solar cell, which is of area of 125 centimeters square, which is having a open circuit voltage of about zero point 0.6. Okay, and this single solar cell is been installed in series of 40 such cells. Okay, so this cells are connected in series like this to make a single solar module. Okay, and which has an output voltage, because the output voltage is nothing but, in this case, since these solar cells are connected in series, so your voltage produced by each cell will be added up. It's like resistance connected in a series. So the voltage produced by each resistance will be sum of each individual resistance. So if you just multiply your zero point 0.6 VOC into your 40, you will get 24 volts. So the total output of voltage with one single solar module containing 40 cells will be about 24 volt, while the current will be just produced from a single cell. So because it's in connected in series, so current will be only produced from whatever it is produced from the single cell. That will give me my total current here. So current will be less, but the voltage will be high. So to increase the current, what has been done is this solar modules have been connected in parallel. Okay. So now in this case, each solar modules are connected in parallel, so the voltage will remain the same, which is about 24 volt of this whole setup, but the current will add up in this case because now the resistors are connected in series. So similarly, your solar modules are connected in series, so current will be added up. So whatever current that you get from one single cell will be like now 4 times. So this is the way how your solar panel is being developed. Okay, there is solar panel developed with solar modules first. Solar modules contains solar cells connected in series producing required voltage, and then this module has been connected in parallel to produce the required current. Okay, so if you want more current, you can increase the number of uh, modules in your solar panel, and you will get much higher current. Similarly, if you want more voltage, you can just increase the number of cells in your each solar modules, and you will get higher voltages. So depending upon your requirement, one uses more voltage and current into your solar panels. Okay, so solar panel is also connected with a lot of accessories. These are all accessories you can see around this place. So you have, obviously you require inverters to convert from your DC to AC, and then you require batteries to store this thing. There are cables they have been connecting it. There is a tracking system. Some places they use tracking system to track the sun as well. Then there is a lot of electric meter which actually finds out how much power it has been generated, and there are a lot of things that have been attached with your solar panels these days. So this is, you know half of the cost goes into the solar panel, while the other half goes into the other accessories that have been required, mainly inverters and batteries. So let's try to understand what is the Means how we can design the solar panel accordingly to the availability of your solar power and the requirement of your house energy usage. Okay, so let's try to solve this problem, which is quite uh, simple, but it is very difficult to understand once we have a practical scenario. So let's say a solar panel is made up of 40 silicon cells in series, each of area of about zero point zero 0.01 meter square. Open circuit voltage is about zero point 0.6 volt and the fill factor is about 0.7. The short circuit current density, okay, this is current density of a panel under AM 1.5 illumination is 400 amperes per meter square. So this is, when you go and buy a solar panel, these are the parameters which have been given by your vendor. So from wherever you buy the solar cell, this parameter is always been given. Okay, that this is number of cells that have been there. This is the open circuit voltage. This is the fill factor, and this is what they have measured current density under AM 1.5 illumination. And you will uh, this is a standard way to find out your current density. Actually, when you use it, you will never get AM 1.5 because it is always less than about 1000 kilowatt, depending upon your geographical locations, weather conditions, seasons, and other things. Okay, while so now let's consider the practical scenario here. So in UK there is about 750 kilowatt hour per meter square per year of solar radiation. Okay, so this is given per year. This is an average solar insolation that has been calculated considering the weather conditions in whole year. Okay, so this is kilowatt hour per meter square per year. If an area of 8 meter square is available on the top of the house, estimate the amount of energy per year that would be provided by the solar panel. Okay, so if you have a, like, let's say area of about 8 meter square, how much energy, and you install all your solar panel in that 8 meter square, so how much energy it will provide by the solar panel. So let's try to so what we want to first find out is the what is the solar radiation that is falling, okay, on the roof in terms of watts per meter square. Okay, so if you see this part here, this is, if you see the units here, this is nothing but kilowatts hour per meter square per year. Actually, the unit of year and hour is the same thing. Okay, so you have to just substitute for the year, which is, for in 1 year there is about 8760 hours. Okay, so you just divide that thing here, so an hour will be removed. So what you get is actually uh, 85.6 watts per meter square. Okay, this is the, it is just by dividing my 8760 with this number. So you will get this value where hour and hour is been removed. Okay, uh, so this is the, you know the solar insolation that has been received watts in terms of watts per meter square. Now the short circuit current density of my panel, okay, it is given in terms of AM 1.5, where AM 1.5, you know that it is actually 1000 watts per meter square. Okay, so if my panel can produce 400 amperes per meter square of my current density in 1000 watts per meter square, what will be my current density it will produce in only 85.6 watts per meter square. Actually, it is proportional because more the power, more will be the current density. So in 1000, if it is producing 400, what will be the current that it will produce in 85.6 watts per meter square? So you have to just divide this 85.5 upon 1000 into 400, which is the current density. You will, so this is the current density that it will be able to produce by this much amount of power falling into it. And this is the practical power that is falling onto my panel, and this is the current density it will produce to my panel. Okay, now let's go to the second part here. So if I see here that my open circuit voltage, okay, is zero point 0.6 volt. So my total voltage of my panel, which is containing 40 silicon cells. Okay, so I have to just multiply. So total VOC of my panel will be single panel, or let's say single module, will be 24 volt. Okay, while the short circuit current, which is this one, will be just the current produced by single cell. Okay, and the single cell has an area of 0.01 meter square. And you can see this is the current density here. Okay, so this is, I have to just multiply my current density with my area of single cell. I will get the total short circuit current that my single panel will produce. So this is the one. So this is, you have to just multiply by 0.01 with the current density. So you will get 0.342 amperes. So this is the current that it will be producing, which is a short circuit current, and this is the voltage that it will be producing in a single panel. Okay, and the area of this panel is about zero point 0.4 meter square, because you know that the single cell is about single cell area is 0.01 meter square, and there are like 40 silicon cells, so the total area will be around 0.4 meter square. So your solar panel of area of zero point 0.4 meter square will be producing VOC of 24 volt, while the current density of 0.342 amperes. Okay, now if I cover all my roof area of 8 meter square. Okay, this is the 8 meter square. I cover with all my solar panel, and this solar panel I will obviously connect this single solar panels, uh, is this one. If I put all the panels, okay, to cover my 8 meter square, I will connect it in parallel. So now my total current will be nothing but the how many panels I have used to cover my 8 meter square area. Okay, so that means that, try to get it once again. So if I have 8 meter square of area available, I will cover it with how many solar panel of zero point 0.4 meter square. Okay, so similarly I will get the current in that case will be adding up of into the number of cells that I have been covering with that. So you can just, either you can just calculate the number of panels and then multiply by my short circuit current, or you can also, since short circuit current is proportional to the area of my single panel here, because so they have just used that if zero point 0.4 can produce this much amount of current, how much will be my 8 meter square area will produce current. Okay, so this is how it is a proportional thing. Or you can also find out that like zero point 0.4, that to cover my 8 meter square I will be able to produce almost about, let's say, 20, right? So 20 panels will be required to cover my 8 meter square of area, and these 20 panels will be connected in parallel, so the current that I will be producing will be adding up of the single panel. So I've just multiplied this by 20, I will again get this value. So it's one and the same thing. Okay, so this is the total current that is been produced by the total area of the panels, and the voltage will remain same because now the panels have been connected in series. So my this is the total voltage VOC of my all the panels, and this is the total short circuit current of all the panels. Okay, so now I have to just calculate the output power out of it. So output power is nothing but your field factor into your ISC VOC. This comes from the field factor formula that we have solved in our last lectures. So you just substitute all the factors. Field factor is already given to you. So you come out around 115 watts of output power that it will generate. Now what has been asked you is that amount of energy per year. So I have to just multiply this by the hours in year. Okay, so this is the energy that will be. So I have to just multiply in 1 year there is about 8760 hours. So I have to just multiply this with the power that I am generating. So I will be able to generate about 1007 kilowatt hours in 1 year. This is the energy. Okay, this is the energy unit. Kilowatt hour is an energy unit. 10 because watts is again joules per second, which is you can take joules per hour, and this the second and hour will cancel it each other. So this is a unit of hour, unit of energy. So you are producing about 1 megawatt hour of your energy in a year. So this is how it has been calculated. Okay, if you are not able to understand, let me know. We'll solve this problem again. During our online sessions. Just wanted to show you how the solar farms look like. These are solar power plants where it this is in India, and we should be proud of it because the largest solar power plant in world is been installed in India, which is in Rajasthan. Badla Solar Park, which can generate up to 2,245 megawatts of power, okay, through these solar panels. Similarly, there's a second largest in world is also in India, which is in Karnataka, which can produce up to 2,050 megawatts of power, and which is also second largest. And there are also other one in Andhra Pradesh, one in Madhya Pradesh, one in Gujarat. There are also much bigger solar power plants which can go up to 1 gigawatt. Just imagine 1 gigawatt. So even those kind of solar farms are coming up in India. They have been already the project has been designed and the installation is going on. So soon we will see such big solar farms, and most of our energy will be generated through these solar panels. So let's come to the last part of our photovoltaic, which is environmental and economical impact of photovoltaics. This usually I in my class I leave it on you guys, but I just cover in a very short manner here. So what are the advantages that we have with solar panels is that there is no CO2 emissions, that there is no moving parts like all the other energy system. We can see that there is either turbines is moving or either windmills are moving, or there are always some moving parts. But in solar panel, one good thing is there is no moving parts, so the maintenance is very low. In this case, the maintenance will be only the dust that has been settled over the solar panel, so to just clean those things. So it's low in maintenance. Since there is no moving parts, so there is no noise. It is only put on the roofs or some places, some where the people doesn't it has been installed in more remote areas where people usually don't go because it's quite heated there, and there is a lot of solar power there. So there is no scenic loss also in that case. So there is a lot of advantages which is found in solar energy. But one can also see some disadvantages. First of all, it is costly. Economically it is not affordable right now even for the common people. So but with the new technologies coming up in terms of polymer based solar cell, we will be able to reduce the cost, and more efficient solar cell will be available. Then there are use of toxic elements like arsenide, gallium arsenide, the telluride, cadmium. These are toxic elements, so which is not good for any living beings. Uh, solar, as we know that it is not very good for demand and supply purpose, because the supply is only during the day. While if you consider all the wind, hydropower, this can provide you in a whole day. But with solar, we have to depend upon the nature, and nature can change quickly. So we have to only obtain in day, and that too if it is in rainy season, we're not able to obtain this kind of energy. Energy used for manufacturing is from fossil fuel. It's like, even though we say that it's a CO2 free source of energy, but most of the energy that have been used to develop solar cells or to transport solar cells or to install solar cell, those energies are being utilized from fossil fuels. So again, the cycle is not entirely CO2 free. Okay, so these are the disadvantage of this. You can add up if you want, in this case, if you remember more on this here. So let's go to the next topic, which is solar thermal. So in solar thermal, the main idea behind solar thermal is we use directly the thermal energy produced by the solar energy and convert it into electricity. Okay, so there are several such devices which have been installed or which have been coming up. I will just cover four of them, and I will try to explain how the working part of this uh, solar thermal devices take place. Okay, so first look let's look into this first device, which is called as ocean thermal energy conversion, which is OTEC. Now, the sea is huge. 70% of our earth's surface is covered with sea, and that means that most of the solar energy falling into the earth's surface is in the sea. So sea is actually capturing more amount of solar energy than the land. So there is a lot of solar energy that is being stored in the sea. Okay, then how it is being stored in the sea is that what we see when the solar energy falls onto my sea level, the top part of my sea levels, okay, which is near the surface or just below the surface, this will be heated up, okay, which get heated up about 25 to 28 degrees centigrade. You can see that when you go to the sea, your water is quite heated up at these temperatures, while the bottom, I mean to say, if you go like about 1,000 meter depth, the temperature is still maintained low, which is about 5 degrees centigrade. Okay, so there is a huge, not huge, but there is a good amount of temperature difference of about, let's say, 20 degrees. Okay, so at the top you will have about 25 to 28 degrees, but at the bottom you will have about 5 to 8 degrees. So this temperature difference can be utilized to produce electricity. Now how it has been done? So what you do is you take this okay, this works similar to what we have it in our thermal power plant. Okay, it's like similar what we, there we have four things. One is your boiler, turbine, condenser, and compressor. Here we don't have compressor. The compressor is not required. But yes, we do have evaporator, which is boiler, turbine, which is running here, and we have a condenser here. Okay. There the working fluid was water, but here the working fluid that is being used is in form of ammonia. Okay. So ammonia liquid is used as your working fluid. So why ammonia is used? The quality of ammonia is that it can be evaporated at very low temperature. So if you use like about 25 to 28 degree, this ammonia liquid can be transformed into vapor. Similarly, this vapor can be condensed back to the liquid at just temperature about 5 to 8 degrees. So this is ideal for this kind of applications. Okay, so it's a closed loop. Okay, you can see this part is the closed loop. So here the ammonia is been the liquid ammonia has been filled. What you do is, this is, you just take, this is like a heat exchanger. Okay, you can see this grid part or this net kind of thing. This is an heat exchanger. So you just take the hot water, okay, from the surface, okay, and it is used as a heat exchanger here. It will exchange all my heat from this hot water, which is about 28 degree, and it will convert my liquid ammonia into gas or vapor ammonia. You can see here the vapor ammonia, it is moving here. So this vapor ammonia is been used to run my turbine, and from the turbine I can generate my electricity. You can see there is a generator attached to this, and with this movement of my turbine I can generate my electricity. This vapor ammonia is brought back, okay, and it is allowed to condense. Now for the condensation, the water which is there at the bottom of the sea, okay, is used in the condenser, which is at 5 degree. So this 5 degree water is brought to this heat exchanger here again, and this ammonia gas or vapor is been again condensed back, okay, by 5 to 8 degree temperature of your water. This ammonia is been condensed back to your water, to your liquid ammonia. And what we have is, we have our water coming back to this position. So what we are doing here is that we are using the top part of my sea, which is at high temperature, to convert to convert my liquid ammonia into vapor ammonia, while the while the low temperature water which is at the bottom of the sea is being used to convert my vapor ammonia into my liquid ammonia. So the cycle is been completely used. So you are actually converting your heat difference of your sea to run my turbine and to generate electricity. So this is how your solar thermal works. These are very huge devices. Okay, it is not because sea, there is a huge amount of energy that is being stored. So the similarly, this is not installed at a very small scale. It is installed at very very large scale. Though there are very few of this is been under operation, but in future one has to also look into such devices and try to convert lot of electricity. The problem with this kind of thing is that we have to transport this electricity from somewhere from between the sea to the land. Okay, so that is one problem. But in that case, you are just using the the temperature difference of your water to convert into electricity. Okay. Let's go to the next device. Next device is basically based on a Stirling engine. Now Stirling engine is like combustion engine where there is a piston, and because of the pressure difference created, you move these pistons, and this piston is able to generate my mechanical energy. Okay, and this mechanical energy that later it has been connected to my generator to convert my mechanical energy into electrical energy. Okay, so you can see here that this is a heated part and this is the cooled part. So when you heat here, the pressure of this internal gas will increase, and your piston will move, while when it's cooled down, the pressure of your liquid or the fluid decreases, compresses, and you can make this kind of movement. Similarly, this is another kind of Stirling in this similar way, but it also produces the mechanical energy. Okay, so now if you see in this case, you require a heat energy. When you If you provide this heat energy, then only it is possible to generate this kind of mechanical movement of your piston. Okay, so this heat energy is given by the concentrated solar power. So concentrated solar power is something like what we are using is in form of a parabolic mirror. Okay, you can see here this is the parabolic mirror here, and this parabolic mirror actually takes all the solar energy, reflects reflects into a very small area. Okay, this is actually, you can see this is the Stirling engine here, and it is been put into this small area which is the heated part, and you can see this kind of thing here. So this Stirling engine takes all this heat or concentrated heat from the mirror and converts into my mechanical motion of my piston. Let's try to have understand this by a video. So I would like to show one video on this. So this is video from a company which shows you how the Stirling engine based, you know the most important part here is the tracking of the sun, because parabolic mirror will only work when your sun is at the top of it. So the tracking is always been taken considered in this case. So you will see this is the mirror here, uh, and this is the Stirling engine which has been installed at the face of the parabolic mirror. So this is how it moves the whole day. It tracks the sun. It's very important to track the sun. There are some tracking devices that have been available. So, so there is no as such a big issue. It will slowly move with the sun, and will try to focus all my solar power into a concentrated area where you can able to convert my heat energy into mechanical energy, and that mechanical energy is later been converted into electrical energy. just showing what are the advantages of using that device. And you can see this how it moves the whole day. It's a fast forward video, so it is. See, you can see the bright spot there. Now, I have used such devices, and I will tell you that it's quite a huge amount of energy that has been generated here. We have tested. We had like about 2 meter parabolic mirror, and this with this 2 meter parabolic mirror, I was able to produce and heat or the temperature of about 2,400 at the spot. Okay, at that small area. So it's a huge amount of energy that has been focused into that small area. So I hope you got the idea with this. So let's go back. So the third device that I wanted to show is based on solar chimney. This is you know uh, uh, a kind of conversion from your solar thermal to your wind, and from wind you actually move your turbines to produce electricity. Okay, so actually what has been done is that you heat the different region of your solar chimney, and because of that heat you produce a pressure difference. Okay, there is an uneven heating of your places, and because of that uneven heating you produce a pressure difference, and because of that pressure difference the wind starts to flow, and this kinetic energy of wind is been transformed to the mechanical movement of your turbines. Okay, so these are very huge structures. You can see here, where there is a kind of a chimney. It's like a chimney where you will always get this kind of chimney in bakeries, or in some industries where all your heat has been coming out. Okay, all your smokes are coming out. So similarly here what we have is that we have a solar that has been hitting my region in this part where it is covered with glass. Okay, it is kind of like a greenhouse that has been created covered with glass, so the solar power will fall into the area in this glass region. So there will be a heating up that will be taking place, and because of the heating, there is a pressure difference at this place and the outside. So the wind will start moving into it. Okay, and since the wind is moving it will move out through the chimney, and then there is a rotation of you just put a wind turbine here and generator here, so this turbine will move and you will produce a uh, electricity out of it. Again, this is quite difficult for me to explain in terms of the figure here, so let's try to watch one video over it. uh, so this is the video which I'm talking about. So this kind of technology is underway. It's a huge structure. Okay, it's like solar chimney is a huge structure. It's about 1 kilometer long. This is just an animation image. So this is the solar chimney. Okay, I was talking about, through which all your hot air will come out. Okay, and below that, in that diameter, a long diameter, it is covered with glass. This is a transparent glass. Okay, there is a transparent glass. The diameter of this glass itself is about 2 kilometers. It's a huge structure. See this now, the people have been there is a train, a small train that have been installed here, and the lift, people are moving up. This can be also used as a tourist place, where at such a top how the things look, it can be used as also for those things. So you can see now this is solar heat radiation. Okay, so there have been turbine installed at all different places in the tower and generate to 200 megawatts of power. Okay, they're just showing the height of the solar chimney. See, about 1,000 meter, 1 kilometer. So they are just measuring the temperature here. So when you go inside, the temperature just goes on because of the glass covering. It just receives the solar energy, but it is not converting. There is no way of cooling it down. So there is a lot of heat that is being developed there. Because of the heat development, there is a lot of pressure difference. Because of pressure difference, the wind is flowing in, and since the wind turbine is installed at different location in the tower, you generate a lot of amount of energy. Okay, so let's come back. I hope it is clear now. So you can see this is the visual, the actual visual of the solar chimney, which has been installed in Spain. Uh, you have a tower and you have a glass windows bottom. So all solar energy fall into the glass window. All your temperature will be heated up in this region, and because of the heating up, there's a pressure difference, and the wind will start flowing in like this, and you just put a wind turbines in between, which will rotate and it will generate energy. So let's come to the next part, which is solar thermal power plant. Okay, solar thermal is similar to what we have as our fossil fuel based thermal power plant. Where, if you remember, I have already covered that, where we use coal or natural gases to in the boiler, which will heat my water and it will convert my water into steam, and then later that steam is been used to rotate my turbines to produce my electricity. So the concept is pretty much the same. Only thing is that rather using fossil fuels, we used a concentrated solar power for heating. So you can see there's all these are all mirrors. Okay, see, this is the mirror which is actually focusing all my solar light into this tower here. Okay, there's a solar tower, and on that tower huge amount of temperature that is being generated, which is about 1500 to 1600 degrees centigrade at some places. Okay, and this tower actually used as a boiler. Okay, so a heat exchanger. In this case, they don't use water, but they use a molten salt. So the salt is been brought up there. Okay, and this salt is been heated, melted, and then it is brought down, and then it is directly used in my boiler of my thermal power plant. Okay, to convert my water into my steam, and that steam is being used to rotate my turbine to produce electricity. Okay, so this you can see this is a huge area. So it works exactly similar to what we have in thermal power plant. The only difference is that the thermal energy that is being required is being utilized from the solar energy, which is free. Okay, and it is clean as well. So there is no CO2 emission in this case. So you only have the mirrors, which is focusing all my solar power into the small area. Okay, and this because of this there is a lot of heat that is being generated, and then heat is converted to melt my salt. Okay, and this molten salt is being used in my boiler to convert my water into steam. So let's have a look again in form of a video here. So this man is trying to show you the thermal solar power plant from the top. You can see it's huge. It's quite huge. You can see this mirrors installed. You can see the tower there. It's quite an image. You can see when you are moving in a car, the size of the mirror is so huge. And you can see the tower here also. So these are just mirrors. It also tracks the sun. Okay, it's slowly moves with the sun and try to focus all your power into that huge tower. See, this is all illuminated with the. So he just wanted to show you the basic example how it works. So you can see it's a parabolic mirror, and you can parabolic mirror. So this is see how these mirrors have been moving with the day. It just tracks the sun. So sunlight is being deflected into the tower. You can see the cold salt tank, which has been brought up to this thing. So here the tower can produce temperature about 565. But there are also solar tower which can produce at much higher temperatures. So there's a heated salt which is brought down, and then it is given to your boiler part. So they're just talking about the. I think so. Yeah, the basic concept has been quite clear for you guys. There is another similar kind of thermal solar power plant, but this is works on a more or less a mirror, and there is a huge pipe that has been installed here in front of this parabolic mirror, and through which you can heat the fluid which flows into this, and you can use for your again the boiler. Okay, so this is the parabolic mirror, and you can see that the fluid that flows through these pipes. First, the solar power is been focused onto this pipe, and in that pipe you can heat this fluid, and you can use this in your boiler part as a heat exchanger, and you can generate your water into steam, and that steam is been converted by turbine to produce into your generator. So this is the whole this part is similar to what we have in our thermal power plant. Only the heat exchanger part, where it's a boiler part, where the heat is required, it has been consumed from the concentrated solar power plants. Okay, the same concept is also used for cooking purposes. In as I've told you, in some of the temples, especially in Tirupati, they cook food by solar thermal power plants. So solar thermal is in that case is similar to what we have it here. They have a parabolic mirror and a pipe that have been installed in front of this parabolic mirror, which is where all your solar light will be focused. And from this parabolic mirror, your hot water is been passed, which is converted into steam, and that steam, the heated steam, is used to cook your rice and other food stuff. Okay, so it's the same thing also here. We'll just see another video over it, and then we finished. This is the pipe. This is the moving fluid into this. Basically, they use oil in, in this case. They can heat the oil and they can convert. You can see the huge power plant, and this is the generator part. So there is two pipelines. One is connected. One is heated, and another one is cooled. So they, I hope you got the idea behind this. So you can go through this video. I have already given you the link in the PPT, so you can go through that also. So the big advantage I would say of using solar thermal power over photovoltaic, because see here also you are in the end you are producing electricity. Okay, even in photovoltaics you are also producing electricity there. So the best part here in the solar thermal is that even though you don't have sun in the night, you can still produce electricity. Why? Because you can see here that you can just store this thermal power in a storage medium and you can use it you know the whole day, even in the nights. So you can heat it the things here and then slowly remove the heat to convert my water into steam. Similarly, in this case, we just heat the salt. These are the storage tanks, so you can just store the heated salt here, and then you can use it for the heat exchanger even in the night. Even here, what they do is they just install the pipes which contains water in the ground, and this pipe is also heated during the day period. So during the night period it also maintains the temperature high, okay, when there is no solar light, because the water in that ground, or the water in that pipe which is installed in the ground is heated, so it will radiate heat. So that means that thermal energy can be stored at much longer time, even in the night, and that can be utilized again to convert my electricity. Similarly, in not here but here also you can, because the temperature difference will be maintained even in night. Okay, so you can use all this solar thermal to convert your thermal energy into electrical energy even during the night period when your solar energy is not available. So this is the big advantage of this. So I think so that's it. We have covered all the aspects of solar energy in this 5 lecture series, and this is the assignments as I've been given you. You have to solve all the problem at the back of the chapter of solar energy and submit as soon as possible in our Google Classroom. We'll discuss that during our online meeting. So thank you, stay home, stay safe.